Wars by Louis Ginzberg. David's first thought after ascending the throne was to wrest Jerusalem, sacred since the days of Adam, Noah, and Abraham, from the grasp of the heathen. The plan was not easy of execution for various reasons. The Jebusites, the possessors of Jerusalem, were the posterity of those sons of Heth who had ceded the cave of Machpelah to Abraham only on condition that their descendants should never be forcibly dispossessed of their capital city Jerusalem. In perpetuation of this agreement between Abraham and the sons of Heth, monuments of brass were erected, and when David approached Jerusalem with hostile intent, the Jebusites pointed to Abraham's promise engraven upon them and still plainly to be read. 51. They maintained that before David could take the city, which they had surrounded with a high wall, he would have to destroy the monuments. Joab devised a plan of getting into Jerusalem. He set up a tall cypress tree near the wall, bent it downward, and standing on David's head, he grasped the very tip of the tree. When the tree rebounded, Joab sat high above the wall and could jump down upon it. Once in the city, he destroyed the monuments and possessed himself of Jerusalem. 52. For David a miracle had happened. The wall had lowered itself before him so that he could walk into the city without difficulty. David, however, was not desirous of using forcible means. He therefore offered the Jebusites 600 shekels, 50 shekels for each Israelitish tribe. The Jebusites accepted the money and gave David a bill of sale. 53. Jerusalem having been acquired, David had to prepare for war with the Philistines, in which the king gave proof at once of his heroic courage and his unshakable trust in God. The latter quality he displayed signally in the battle that took place in the Valley of the Giants. God had commanded David not to attack the host of the Philistines until he heard the sound of marching in the tops of the mulberry trees. God desired to pass judgment upon the tutelary angels of the heathen before surrendering the heathen themselves to the pious. 54. And the motion of the tops of the trees was to indicate that the battle could proceed. The enemy advanced until there were but 4 ells between them and the Israelites. The latter were about to throw themselves against the Philistines, but David restrained them, saying, God forbade me to attack the Philistines before the tops of the trees begin to move. If we transgress God's command, we shall certainly die. If we delay, it is probable that we shall be killed by the Philistines, but at least we shall die as pious men that keep God's command. Above all, let us have confidence in God. Scarcely had he ended his speech when the tops of the trees rustled, and David made a successful assault upon the Philistines. Whereupon God said to the angels, who were constantly questioning him as to why he had taken the royal dignity from Saul and given it to David, see the difference between Saul and David. 55. Of David's other campaigns, the most notable is his war with Shobach the Aramean, whom he conquered in spite of his gigantic size and strength. Shobach was very tall as a dovecote, and one look at him sufficed to strike terror to the heart of the beholder. 56. The Aramean general indulged in the belief that David would treat the Syrians gently on account of the monument, still in existence at that time, which Jacob and Laban had erected on the frontier between Palestine and Aram, as a sign of their covenant that neither they nor their descendants should wage war with each other, but David destroyed the monument. 57. Similarly, the Philistines had placed trust in a relic from Isaac, the bridle of a mule which the patriarch had given to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, as a pledge of the covenant between Israel and his people. David took it from them by force. 58. However, David was as just as he was bold. Disregard of the covenants made by the patriarchs was far removed from his thoughts. Indeed, before departing for the wars with the Arameans and the Philistines, he had charged the Sanhedrin to investigate carefully the claims of the two nations. The claims of the Philistines were shown to be utterly unfounded. In no sense were they the descendants of those Philistines who had concluded a treaty with Isaac. They had immigrated from Cyprus at a much later date. The Arameans, on the other hand, had forfeited their claims upon considerate treatment, because under the Aramean Balaam, and later again, in the time of Othniel, under their king Cush-and-Rishathaim, they had attacked and made war upon the Israelites. 59.